but also I've been diagnosed with a couple of different chronic illnesses or autoimmune diseases.
Okay.
And so I remember before I had my diagnosis of Crohn's disease, because that was one of them,
Okay.
the experience that I had when I was working
But
um,
also, I've been
in,
diagnosed a
oh,
couple of
there we
Okay.
go. Um, it wasn't good. And I've been doing well lately, but I knew that if I ever went back into the workplace, into the workforce, I would need something that would be flexible.
Okay.
Um, because like I said, when I didn't know what was going on, it was hard. It was difficult. There were a lot of times when I would have to leave work or call in,
Okay.
and I didn't want to go through that again.
Okay.
So I, like a lot of us, I scroll through Instagram, and I came across an Instagram page,
Okay.
and it was a young woman that I could relate to. She had an inflammatory bowel disease as well.
Okay.
And she talked about how being a virtual assistant has afforded her the opportunity to be able to work from home, even if she's not feeling her best, even in the middle of a flare, she can work.
Okay.
Um, because another problem that faces a lot of people in this country, especially, is the fact that you might not be disabled enough to qualify for a disability, but
Mm,
sometimes you're not well enough to really function properly in a formal setting, in a formal workplace or work
okay.
setting.
Okay.
And that was her solution, and she did quite well. And I thought, I've heard of virtual assistant before. I kind of knew what they did, but nothing in depth. So
Okay.
I started watching all of her videos and ingesting all of her content. And then I started researching even more, and I went down this
Okay.
rabbit hole.
Okay.
And one thing that stood out to me is she said, basically, so her ideal audience
Okay.
was or is, I should say, she specifically caters to other women with a chronic illness. And I
Okay.
thought, okay, I could do that, but she's doing this, but what else, who else could I appeal to? And what else am I passionate about?
Okay.
Because that was something else. I wanted to do something that I was really, really passionate about. I wanted to really enjoy my work.
Absolutely. Right.
Right. And I thought, well, I've been going down this journey of discovering not just the fact that my kids are neurodivergent, because both of
Okay.
them are autistic and have ADHD as well,
Okay.
and then my husband and myself. And I said, and who else, who better needs help when it comes to just
Right.
handling the day to day
Right.
people in the
Right.
neurodivergent community?
Okay.
Because a lot of us struggle with things like executive dysfunction. So when it comes to organization or planning or, just getting things done,
Okay.
even for me personally, I've always been great at helping other people.
Hmm.
I may struggle in my personal life, and my executive function really shows up more when I have something of my on my own to-do list. But
Okay.
I'm great at helping other people.
Okay.
And I started thinking, well, what experience do I have? And the more I thought about it, I realized I've been doing a lot of these things for free for years. I have a background in, like I said, web design, interactive media.
Right.
Um, a lot of my friends or family would call me up and say, "Hey, can you research this?" Or "Hey, can you create this?" Or "Hey, can you send this out for me?" Or "Can you do this or that?"
Okay.
And I realized I've also had to manage and navigate my own, at the time I didn't realize it, neurodivergent household for almost 20 years.
Okay.
And I thought, I can do this. I can do this because I really enjoy helping other people.
Hmm.
And I want to help people who struggle in this area, because I want other people to be successful in their business.
Right.
Being able to work for yourself and being an entrepreneur is hard work, but
Mhm.
having that flexibility and really enjoying what you do is a blessing. And so I
Yes.
thought, that's who I want to serve.
Okay.
And thus the ADHD executive was born.
Awesome. That you took there's an expression that's by Robert Schuller that I just learned about. You turned your scars into a star.
Yes.
So that scar, or just
I
an
like that.
analogy,
Hmm.
and created something so beautiful for yourself that benefited not you, but also your family, because you're able to be there for your family and doing something that you've already been doing and
Been
have
doing.
talent and skill for. So that's awesome.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Which leads me to my next question. You talked about supporting the neurodivergent community. You describe yourself as part of the neurodivergent community. So you could tell us about that community in particular, or supporting.
Right. Yes. Well, and you know what, specifically, I also wanted to really be able to support women,
Okay.
women and people of color,
Okay.
because a lot of times, if you look at the statistics, uh, women, like girls and women, and then people of color have gone underdiagnosed. We've flown under the radar for so long.
Okay.
A lot of times when you think of someone who's autistic, you have the stereotype. Many people have this certain stereotype in their head, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not someone who looks like me that pops up.
Okay.
Or even when it comes to ADHD, there's still the stigma that surrounds that too. Or um, they think that they still tend to think that, oh, it only affects children.
Mm,
And so we end up suffering. Many people, neurodivergent people, deal with anxiety and depression,
okay.
or we're misdiagnosed with a personality disorder or anxiety and depression. And then once we are treated for those things,
Mm-hmm.
like so much in our lives gets better. So for me, like some of my challenges would, I'm trying to think. It really depends because it's very individualized. Not everyone
Mm-hmm.
presents in the same way.
Okay.
So a lot of us may have sensory challenges,
Okay.
whether it be with smells or sounds. I'm really very sensitive to sounds.
Okay.
I've noticed maybe not so much as my daughter. She's extremely sensitive to sounds, textures.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people struggle with emotional regulation. Um, Other people struggle, like I said, with anxiety. That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so many things. So it's not just the hyperactive little boy running around.
Mm-hmm.
For me, and I know a lot of women and even girls, instead of the outward presentation of hyperactivity, it might be more in our heads, like constant having thoughts rolling around our heads constantly.
Okay.
And then two, so much focus is put on the negative, but what I've come to realize is people in the neurodivergent community also have a lot of really good traits and qualities. Like most of us are extremely creative. Um, uh, we we get a reputation of not being great communicators, especially I will say like males. However, I think it's just a different way of communicating most times.
Okay.
Some of us can be very direct because a lot of times when we say something, we mean it. There's no hidden undertone, ulterior motive, or meaning behind what we say. It's just a different way of communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's so many different things. It really just depends on the person.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
executive dysfunction is a major thing for a lot of us. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of us struggle with executive dysfunction, um, task initiation, not knowing where to begin, or really just getting overwhelmed, I should say.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that I can definitely identify with.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. I thank you for breaking that down. So I was going to ask you now, what would that look like to a person who doesn't know, you know, what the symptoms might be or what that might look like? So you broke it down. If it's a look or feeling of being overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed, yes. And for me personally, because again, it's different in each person, but
Right. Right.
um, for years, so I was a great student. I got good grades. I didn't get in trouble a lot in school. So there was nothing that really stood out to teachers or parents that said, "Oh, this girl has ADHD." But
Right.
that's just it. The quiet child in the classroom, the daydreamer, who now we know presents as inattentive type. might be struggling with ADHD. The forgetful kid. So that is so me, and it continued to get
Mhm.
progressively worse
Okay.
as I got older, but also when you think about it, it's interesting because a lot of women are not diagnosed until they reach their midlife, like in their 30s, 40s, 50s.
Okay.
And it's because once you reach that threshold of what you can handle, that's when you really start having a difficult time. And so many of us, there's a term that's used called masking.
Hmm.
We learn to adapt and to fit in and to kind of do and follow the social rules of the norms,
Mhm.
but at our own expense. And a lot of times that's where the anxiety comes into play because when you're holding it together all day long,
Hmm.
and then you're in an environment that might not be the best, that you might not be best suited for, all that, and you go through that year after year after year, all it
Mhm.
does is create, uh, like I said, anxiety. You're already dealing with a dysregulated nervous system. And
Okay.
so many other issues can pop up after that. And I would talk to my doctors and I would say, like, I feel like so scattered, like my brain just feels so scattered, or I'm feeling this way, or, and I would get oh, well, you're getting older. Oh, it's probably mommy brain. I'm like, well, how long does this last? Or it would be, well, what time of the month, is, and finally, after I don't know how many years,
Mhm.
I decided once my children got diagnosed, and I would sit in on their sessions with the therapist and the psychologist, I thought this sounds so much like me.
Okay.
And that's when I decided to go ahead and get a neuropsych examination.
Okay. Gotcha.
hmm
And
But
so,
yeah,
mhm.
just being overwhelmed by little things. And I always felt like, what is wrong with me? Why is it that sometimes the easiest tasks seem so hard and so difficult? It shouldn't be this hard to do the laundry. Why is it that I'm freaking out and feeling so overwhelmed and paralyzed by a pile of laundry?
Right. 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 Right.
And I can't handle this. Like, what's wrong with me? Or the thought of running errands, going to the grocery store, just things that other people had no problem with,
Mhm.
I was struggling with, and I didn't understand why. And it happened. Everything really set in as I got older, but see, my responsibilities kept increasing.
Okay.
Getting married, having one child, and having two children, and trying to run the household, and then the pandemic hit. And that's when I think for a lot of people, things were just magnified 10 times.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. You said some very important pieces there. I want to go back to one thing you mentioned about the testing that you got. That
Mhm.
wasn't, you had to ask for that testing.
I did.
Right. It reminds me of a previous interview I had with Lee April, where you have to ask for testing for sickle cell anemia. For this particular um, health challenge, you have to ask. Now, why isn't it's unless it's diagnosed, you wouldn't know to ask,
You
right?
wouldn't know to ask. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the medical community are not very well versed when it comes to neurodivergence. And again, you have the stereotypes and the stigmas. The stereotypes of what an autistic person looks like, what a person with ADHD looks like. And it's not a, at the time I was 39, it's not a 39-year-old Black woman. It
Mhm.
just isn't. So when you go to your doctor and you're saying, okay, well, I'm like so forgetful, I feel scatterbrained, I'm having such a hard time, and feeling overwhelmed with little things, they're gonna say, oh, you're depressed. Or you have like what I was told, it's just mommy brain. It'll be fine. Oh, it's your hormones, which it can be. That does contribute to it. I found out later on there can be a link.
Mhm.
Um, but everything but you know what? Let's just take a look. Tell me about your life as a whole, your life experiences as a whole.
Okay.
And, I just want to, rule this out or rule that out. They're not going to mention most times, unless they are very well trained specifically for ADHD or autism, and what it looks like in adults or people of color, a doctor is not going to know. You're
Okay.
not going to know because and honestly, it has not been taught. They're just now starting to study what it looks like in our community, um,
Mm,
uh, or in women and in girls, and it's really in its infancy. So you have to advocate for yourself. You have to do your own research. And fortunately for me, that's one thing that I love to do is research. And that's what led me to speak up for myself and say, hey, I asked my primary care. I had already picked out the place I wanted to go to and everything. I said, can you please refer me, like send in a referral for this place for me to have this testing done?
okay. Wow. And you said something important there as well. Advocating for yourself,
You have to.
not necessarily leaving all of your medical care and concern to the medical community and say, here, and you
Right.
do nothing else except take what they tell you and perhaps take medication without asking questions.
Hmm.
You know, um, certainly, that is one of the things that fuels me as well. Asking questions, doing your due diligence and what you can do for yourself. And it sounds like you were in a position and the mindset to say, okay, I need to find out what's going on with me, even if you don't know, so
Right.
that I have a better understanding of me and what's going on. And you choose the path that you want to take, but at least you've
Exactly.
made an informed decision.
Decision. Right. Exactly.
you
Hmm.
know which thank you for sharing that, which leads me to my next question about you mentioned in previous conversations that you utilize essential oils. What brought you to that natural, because we were talking about conventional, what brought
Hmm.
you to that natural way of using or just using essential oils, period? What got you started?
Well, a few years ago, it was 2016, 2017, I
Okay.
think, a mutual acquaintance of our friend of ours,
Right.
Renée Hughes, who is now she has her own aromatherapy school.
Right.
She's a
Right.
certified aromatherapist. She's a holistic practitioner and business coach. Anyway, I've known Renée my entire life. And so before she um, was who she is now,
Right.
she was actively involved in the aromatherapy community,
Right.
and she would talk about essential oils. And she invited me to take a look
Hmm.
at, just to learn. And so I did,
Uh-huh.
and I thought, because I didn't know anything about them. I was thinking, oh, if you told me about essential oils, it's like, wait, what's that? Is that like the stuff that smells really good, or you might see it in an ingredient for like a pillow spray, something to spritz on your pillows, lavender to help you sleep
Right.
well, or
Right.
something like that.
Sound like me. Yep.
Mhm. That's all I knew. And, I said, "Okay, I'll take a look."
Uh-huh.
And being the researcher that I am, because like,
Yeah.
like, really? Like, this is for real? These you can, like, help and ease this and that and the other with just, these little oils?
Right.
Okay. So I started researching,
Okay.
and then I started trying things out for myself,
Okay.
and it's like, it makes sense. To me, it makes sense.
Okay.
Um, and that was basically my first introduction to aromatherapy and essential oils, and I started learning, wanting to learn more and started using them for various things. And after that, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm convinced."
Which thank you for that. So which
Mhm.
brings me to my next question. So you utilize essential oils today. How have they benefited you in your everyday life?
Okay, so, you and I had a discussion the other day about say anxiety, and the thing is, at the time, I didn't even really know that I knew that I would get anxious from time to time. I had no idea that I was dealing with chronic anxiety.
Okay.
That's another thing because mine presented differently. As what one of my doctors said. She said, "Well, yours presents differently." I was having panic attacks, didn't realize they were panic
Mhm.
attacks.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and so I just remember, I learned that certain oils could be beneficial for helping you to either focus or, be really soothing or calming.
Yes.
And one of them, this is just one example. I
Uh-huh.
keep bergamot at my desk.
Hmm. Citrus oil. Uh-huh.
Yes. And sometimes I would sit there and now you've taught me something else. So I would just open up the bottle and sniff it, take a whiff every now and then, put it
Uh-huh.
back down, inhale. When Renee was doing offering some of her sessions,
Yeah.
back then I signed up for some of those. That's how I learned about the deep breathing
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So I would incorporate those oils for that, just
Mm-hmm.
to how, to help me remain calm, to feel grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I felt like that, and again, and now in hindsight, I'm like, why? How in the world did I not realize that I was stressed? Maybe I thought of it as, oh, I'm just, stressed, but chronically stressed, that I
Gotcha.
was dealing with anxiety. Or I started diffusing
Okay.
on a regular basis.
Okay.
I would have it in common areas in the house, but also I would use it with my children, or during those particular seasons when things would, when you're not feeling your best,
Mm-hmm.
fall and winter time.
Mm-hmm.
My husband was someone who was a little harder to convince.
Okay.
And so I remember asking Renee, okay, so what could I use for this? Because we had one season where, or not see, like maybe a year or two, where we got sick quite a bit. I was like, what is happening? What is going on? She's like, okay, well, try this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
There was a particular blend. I was trying to think of what it is, but
Mm-hmm.
um he he wasn't feeling great and was having a difficult time breathing and stuffy and everything. And so normally you'd reach for some sort of, vapor rub or something. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, no, I've learned this. And by this point I had like a big reference guide too
Okay.
for different blends on what to use. I said, I'm gonna put a little bit of this on your chest. And he was like, "What did you just give? Like, what did you give me? That stuff is amazing. It works." And I was talking to him about it the other day, actually. And he was like, "Yeah, that." He's like, "Now that right there, that works."
Uh-huh.
So I'm trying to think. Oh, now this is kind of funny. So of course, especially when you first start learning about essential oils, you're telling everybody, right?
Right,
I
right,
used to
right.
carry them around with me everywhere. I would carry my kit with me, everywhere I went, because I was so happy to have been able to find something that I felt was safe, and I was learning how to use them.
Yes.
And so I remember going over to, was it my it was I was at my sister-in-law's home, and by this point I think she had her own kit too. But there's a certain blend, and it was supposed to be very calming,
Mm-hmm.
because I would use it all the time with my kids.
Okay.
And she was just like, "What is in that diffuser?" Because it just created such a nice, calming, soothing atmosphere.
There you
Everyone
go.
was just, chill. So just in day to day life,
Yes.
I was able to find uses for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that you can do with them.
Uh-huh.
Creating your own, mouthwash, or um, the list is endless, and you know all about that, about
Yeah.
different natural products that you can make with them.
Right.
And, also since, especially my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
she has a lot of different allergies.
Okay.
Now, of course, just because it's natural does not mean that you're not gonna have a reaction to it,
Right.
but, the things that I was able to do with the essential oils to help her,
Mm-hmm.
um or things, I was able to use them on myself, and I wasn't afraid of, okay, if I use this on me or on her, and it's not going to cause a reaction. I was able to figure out what would not cause a reaction for her but might actually give relief, and
Mm-hmm.
something that she might find soothing, or that I could
Yes.
add to, you know to things that I would apply to, to her skin.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, so that's basically how I use them, or still use them in
To
everyday
this
life.
day.
Mhm.
You said, thank you so much for sharing that, because when you were talking, I was like thinking all the points. I was like, yeah, yeah. We first learned about, oh, aromatherapy is more than just the plugins. I
Yeah.
used to know.
Right, more than just the plugins. You telling everybody. Yes, and it was nice to have a home that smelled good. I even remember getting a friend of mine would get in my van, and she'd say, "It smells like a spa." She's like, "Every time I get in here, it smells like, I'm in a spa." Because I had at that point stopped using those plugins. My husband couldn't stand them because they were too strong.
Yeah.
with my kids and their allergies and even mine, I didn't want them in the house, but I missed having being able to have a home that smelled. I missed having some sort of fragrance in the house. And so I would diffuse and I wouldn't be worried about what I was bringing home and
Exactly.
using in my home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because honestly, I don't know this for the gospel, okay? But some of those products out there are fragrance oils and just that,
Mhm.
not necessarily designed for the benefits of using essential oils,
Right.
right? So, which brings me to another point, which is my plug-in for my masterclass, because you mentioned about using essential oils and having blends and knowing what to do with them. Not everybody knows what to do with essential oils. You have to
Exactly.
have training behind it, have some sort of knowledge, have somebody to share it with you
Mhm.
about using essential oils simply and safely. I say first and foremost, my masterclass is designed for people to learn how to use essential oils simply and safely, how to select them, what to look for. And if you're in the audience, you're watching this video later, I welcome you to my masterclass on September 30th, 2023. I'll leave a link
Mhm.
in the description just for individuals like you who may have heard about it. You've come a long way though. But for those who may be wanting a natural solution, and not even realize that beyond the fragrance or the smell of essential oils,
Mhm.
there are therapeutic properties that go along
That
with
go right along with them.
using essential oils, and you need to know that,
You do.
you
You need
know.
to know that. And I'm going to add, even for someone like me who now has been around them and I know a little bit more,
Mm-hmm,
um, a program like yours is still good because there are still so many things that I need to learn about them.
mm-hmm.
Um, because as it so happens, I had started taking the classes in
Okay,
order to become a certified aromatherapist.
okay,
And this was before I understood how my brain worked and my
okay,
neurodivergence
okay, okay.
and how to control my overwhelm and and my life,
Right.
and also that of my children too, because that was right around the same time that they were going through things, and I was really trying to find out what was happening, especially with my son.
Okay.
And I stopped. I was not able to complete my
Um,
education. So having a course like this, because I
okay.
still want to be able to use them. I think there are a lot of people out there. I think your program, because I've been able to see a little bit of what you're gonna be offering, and I think it's still good, even if you have some experience with them. You
Mm-hmm.
you may not know as much as you think you know. that
Right.
was that was my experience. So I think it's gonna be good for a lot of people.
Oh, well, thank
A
you
lot of
for
people.
saying that. Absolutely. And that my passion is to be able to share a natural health modality,
Hmm.
and me being introduced to essential oils initially just for the thought, the idea that there was something more to essential oils, and then having experience like such as yourself utilizing them and realizing, oh my goodness, where has this been all
Where
my
has
life?
this been? Yeah, why didn't I know more about this?
And then learning that you had an opportunity to learn, and to now when I first started, I'm like, who can I share this with? This too
Yes,
good of information to keep to
to
myself,
keep to yourself.
you
It is.
know. I started sharing with my faith family, and now on YouTube, y'all, and and the rest is history. So I truly understand. So thank you for sharing that, which leads me to, you mentioned about in being in the neurodivergent community, how
Mhm.
might you see utilizing essential oils could be a benefit based on your own experience? I mean, of course, you don't represent all of the neurodivergent
Right.
community, and of course, you mentioned that people are on different spectrums of it, if
Mhm.
you will. How would you see that benefiting a person?
Well, I know personally, for me and for my family, it would be more along the lines of, because there is no, so when it comes to neurodivergence, it's how your brain is made. It's how you're wired. There's no pill that we can take that's just going to be a cure all for everything. But the oils can help in our day-to-day life and in our day-to-day function, and make things a little easier as
Okay.
we navigate, because a lot of times you'll hear people in the neurodivergent community say like this world was not made for us. I love the expression, and I need to remember, I keep forgetting, but there was a doctor um who I used this example when I was talking to my son about
Okay.
his brain.
Okay.
But he said, or this person said, it's like a Mac living in a PC world.
Hmm. A
This
Mac
person,
lip. Okay.
a
Okay.
Mac living in a PC world. We just have
Okay.
different operating systems. So to help me navigate this world that I live in my day to day, whether it's overwhelm and I need some calming.
Okay.
Um, I remember talking to you the other day about having, you call them like the sniff sticks, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
doing different things where you can, different tools that you can have in your tool belt, so to speak, to help you in different moments. So whether it's diffusing, whether it's using the sniff sticks that you can pull out if you're having an anxious moment,
Yes.
um, maybe if it's you're having a problem sleeping, that's a major thing in our house.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing may be 100%, but does it help? Do they help?
Right.
Or some things might help more so than others, during this season of you're trying to stay well. Um, so just taking certain measures, using the oils in that capacity, to help with your health and your physical health and wellness.
Yeah.
And cleaning,
Oh,
a lot
yes.
of times, and here's another thing too. So with my kids, I still have not let them. I don't let them use like some of the harsher chemicals and products,
Okay.
because I still want them. You're gonna have to clean your tub. You have to clean your bathroom.
Okay.
um, but I might not necessarily want them inhaling some of those harsher chemicals.
Okay.
You can either purchase or you can make your own cleaning products and add essential oils to them. Um, and just like it being able to focus. So specifically for someone with ADHD, there are different blends, there are different oils that can help you with that even. And again, some things help really, really well. And it really does depend on the person and your body and how your
Mhm.
body reacts. That goes for anything.
Right. Absolutely.
Anything, be it in nature or be it, something that's been synthesized by man.
Right.
Um, but there's so many different ways that it can be helpful, for us. Um, but my biggest ones are, physical health, but
Mhm.
also just being able to something to help calm your mind.
Mhm.
I still get those thoughts. My mind is constantly going. I say even when I sleep, sometimes I feel like I haven't rested. But to also help with their overwhelm, because so many of us tend to get overwhelmed.
Right.
Um, and then even physically, there are certain blends that could help. I mentioned to you about how I have two chronic illnesses or autoimmune diseases,
Mhm.
Crohn's disease and RA, rheumatoid arthritis,
Mhm.
which I'm going to say that would be good for the neurodivergent community, because now they're studies are showing that a large number of people in the neurodivergent community are actually susceptible to autoimmune diseases and chronic
Mm.
pain and illness.
Okay.
So having some natural ways to help alleviate or ease some of those symptoms
Yes.
can help, because when you're hurting, you're definitely not going to be able to think as clearly.
Right.
Your senses are going to be overwhelmed. Like if you're already dealing with some sort of sensory processing challenge, it's magnified when you're in pain, when you're not feeling great. So yeah, it really can help a lot of people in the neurodivergent community.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And having said that, using natural modalities for the conditions that you mentioned, you still need to know which essential oils to select and
Right.
see if they're best for you. You mentioned about allergic reactions, right? That
Mhm.
can happen
Mhm.
utilizing essential oils. And you need to understand if that's something that you want to incorporate into well-being or to complement what you're already doing. You definitely need to
Exactly.
know what to look for in your essential oils, people.
Mhm.
You need to know what that looks like. And again, going back to my masterclass, that's what we'll be sharing with you. I'll be sharing with you what 5 things you need to know about when you're selecting. You say, okay, I have this condition. However, where do you start?
Where do you
How
start?
do where do you begin to look for those essential oils? What properties should they have, right? How do I plan to use them? And just a few things that you'll learn in my masterclass. So that if you have a condition, you want to go the natural route and you're thinking that you want to incorporate essential oils, then you know where to start. You can say,
You know
okay,
where
I
to
have the
start.
tools I can start here in the step-by-step plan on how to select something, because the worst thing you want to do is select something that is not good for you.
Exactly. So having that guidance,
Yes.
because I struggle. A lot of people struggle with decision paralysis when you
Mm,
have so many choices to make, and it's like, what do I do? And then you don't do anything.
mm,
You freeze. You don't do anything. So
right.
having that guidance, from a course like yours, I think it would definitely be helpful.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So yeah, so even beyond the master class, as she mentioned, having a course that could help you to select specific essential oils to get you started, just for that.
Just for that.
Just for that reason, I created the Aroma Buds and Blossoms course for beginners and business people, helping professionals. And stay tuned, it's coming up in October.
Which is perfect because
Yeah.
October is ADHD Awareness Month.
Oh,
So that's a
awesome.
yeah, it's a yeah, it's perfect. That's great.
Yes. So
Mhm.
to have the solution to just what you just said, decision paralysis, you won't
Mhm.
have to think about what essential oils to start with. Okay. You will have an arsenal of essential oils in your back pocket to start with that covers all of your body systems.
Mhm.
Okay. And it'll be safe to use from infancy to the elderly, which is a bonus, right? When used safely. So, but first and foremost, come to the master class so you can learn how to utilize essential oils. Again, I'll leave a link in the description so you know what to look for in essential oil. And
Mhm.
then certainly I invite you to take the course when it's available October, so that you can jumpstart your way to using those essential oils simply, safely, and effectively. So yes. Now you mentioned about for the neurodivergent community, and of course you're a business owner, so a person who may not be neurodivergent, do you see utilizing essential oils for your everyday? You might be working remotely at home,
Oh
or you
yeah.
might how do you see it in general for business owners, if you could speak to that, or navigate your business life, or otherwise?
I mean, just in general, because people who don't have ADHD or people who are not autistic, they're referred to as neurotypical people. They still deal with the stresses and strains of being an entrepreneur, of running a business. They
Mhm,
still want to have mental clarity and focus.
mhm.
Um, and we're not the only ones that have to deal with pain and discomfort and so many other things. So really, just for
Yes.
anyone, it's good for anybody. And I mean, what do you have to lose? Because if you are, I know one problem a long time ago is so many people were trying to just sell them and may
Mm,
not have had the knowledge that was needed, or the education. But here you have someone who's, a certified aromatherapist who knows what they're doing, who can help to guide you. And like the master class, you're starting off with, was it five?
bye.
Five beneficial oils. You know what I mean? So, I mean, what do you have to lose?
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
free class. Just take a little taste. Now,
Yes.
I'm not saying literally, but check the class out. But I think a lot of people will find that it's beneficial for most people.
Yeah.
'Cause, and nowadays you have people that are looking for a natural solution to things. And I'm not saying that I don't use pharmaceuticals, because I think they can go hand in hand. And sometimes I do remember someone telling me, um, they have their place.
Mhm.
So pharmaceuticals are made to help to force your body to do what it needs to do, but natural solutions are there to they take a little longer,
Mhm.
but to help coax your body into doing what it needs to do.
Yes,
And
what it
so
needs.
there's always room in your tool belt for a natural solution, I think. Mhm.
Absolutely. It's well said. Definitely well said. And you touched on the point of using pharmaceuticals. I covered that well as well in the master
Mhm.
class, the 5 things to consider before using essential oils. And one of the things you should be considering is safety.
Safety. Mhm.
And safety when using along or in conjunction with pharmaceuticals. So you need to be aware of that if you're a person that's taking medication. So yeah, definitely. I invite all to come to the master class so you know the things that you should be aware of and be conscious of before you even utilize essential oils, for
Mhm.
sure. And like you, I started off with a company or utilize essential oil. Say, wait, I need to learn more.
You need to learn more. That's how I was. And I don't know if you're like me, I love learning. Like,
Yes,
I love learning, and I even wanted to know, like, the science behind it, and I geek out over stuff like that.
yes,
But having that information and that knowledge is what continued to propel me to want to use them
yes,
because I knew, yeah, no, this is real. These can really help. Yeah. So, yep.
absolutely, absolutely. So I thank you very much for sharing all that you did, all that you do for the community that you serve,
No,
right?
no. Well, look, thank you. Thank you for all that you do and for bringing this education, this knowledge to us, not just the neurodivergent community, but to everyone.
Yeah. It is definitely, I can say, a true passion of mine. And I
Hmm.
use my own health challenges along with social work to marry to fuel me to share.
To share.
I always
Absolutely.
say social work means just that, sharing wisdom.
Hmm.
The wisdom we gather, the wisdom you share. And there's also another expression. I love my quotes, y'all. Freely you give, freely you receive.
Yes.
Right. And my all-time favorite, my Maya Angelou, when you learn, teach, when you get, give.
That's
So
beautiful. Hmm. And
definitely a
you give a lot. You give your all.
oh, well, thank you. I try. I definitely try. Which brings me to as we wrapping up here, ladies and gentlemen.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else that you want to add or like an ending message for our audience in relationship to it could be for well-being, the importance of business owners, anything that you would like to add to this conversation?
Um, I just want to reiterate what we talked about earlier.
Okay.
If you are dealing or struggling, especially mentally or emotionally, and you're not getting the answers or the help
Mm-hmm.
that you need,
Mm,
can don't quit, don't stop. Continue to advocate for yourself.
yes.
So many people uh just get to a point where they're discouraged because they're not getting the help, they're not getting the support, they're not getting the services that they need. It's not a want, it is a need.
Okay.
And a lot of times when you're able to get that help, and the thing is, I realize that that help is not readily accessible for so many people. So if you have the privilege, if you are able to do so, do it. Ask the questions. Do not be afraid to ask the questions. I think a lot of times we are.
Yes.
And we'll say, "Oh, well, they didn't mention this or that." That's okay. It's okay to do your own research.
Yes.
It really is. If you need to get a second opinion, get a second opinion. There are
Yes.
lots of good doctors and practitioners out there who are the type where they will sit down and have a conversation with you,
Mm-hmm.
um, and help you. And just when you do that, when you are able, for those of us who are able to finally get answers,
Yeah.
because getting answers, even if your issues are not solved right away, but just getting answers and knowing what is going on can make a world of difference, to the
Mm,
point where you can start your own business. So if someone tells you you have ADHD, there's no way that you're going to be able to run your own business. Don't believe them. It's called
right.
support.
Hello.
You probably have some great ideas. Hey, you might not be the most organized. Hire someone to help you. Reach out to a family member or a friend, but don't give up on that passion and that dream. If someone says, "Oh, well, autistic people or can't do this or that or the other," don't believe them.
Mm-mm.
Um, just even if you find certain things difficult, again, support, research, it's out there.
Mhm.
Um, even if the best thing that even if the most you can do right now is to find a neurodivergent community online that you can relate to, find people who share a similar experience to
Yes,
yours. Because that's what helped me when I realized, oh my goodness, and there's no telling what you're capable of. Mhm.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well said and beautifully said. With that, how can people reach you? Are you on social media, or how people can contact you? They want to talk to you more about it.
I am on social media. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. However, I have links to all of those on my website. So you can go to the ADHD exec. That's the ADHDEXEC.com.
Okay.
And you can reach out to me directly there on the website. Or like I said, I do have links to all of my social media on there. So yeah.
Okay. I
Mhm.
encourage everyone to check it out and see it either for yourself or someone that you know, to be connected, because you gave some very beautiful and rich information that people might not otherwise know. Had I not met you, I would not have known about neurodivergency, what that looks like, or what the definition is. So I thank you for being open, for sharing, and allowing me the opportunity to learn and to grow, right?
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity
Yeah, like I say on my channel, let's continue to learn, grow, and
to
share
share.
together naturally. And how do we do that if we don't share what we
If
know with each other?
you don't share, and that's just it. That's just it. So many of us have a story to tell,
Yes.
and don't be ashamed to tell it because you have no idea who it might help.
Oh,
Because I've been helped by it.
well, I think that's a beautiful way to end. Don't be afraid to tell your story, because you don't know who is going to help.
It's gonna help.
That should be a quote. You heard it here first. I don't know if somebody else has said it, but I'm big on my quotes by Ashley Pugh. Don't be afraid to share your story, because you never know who is going to
Who's
help.
gonna
That's
help?
true. Absolutely. I think that's a
I'm like,
beautiful mistake. Now you can't start that on
I
this,
know I can't start. I'm like, hold off. Okay. No, but thank you.
because I'm no good. Once I see somebody else crying, I ask questions later. Like, okay, what are we crying
I
about?
know, me too. Oh goodness.
That comes from the love of people, and and wanting to be there for them and
For
compassionate
people.
self. But I understand that. I do. Well, thank you so very much again for
No,
gracing us
thank
with your
you.
presence. It has been an absolute pleasure. I hope to have you back.
I would love to come back. Yep.
Yes, so I thank you again, everyone. I thank you for watching. Anybody who watches the replay, again, I lovingly invite you, if you're watching this, hopefully not in too distant future, but in the near future, to come to the masterclass on September 30th, 2023 at 1 p.m. When you sign up, the link is in the description. When you sign up, you'll get a Zoom link to give you all the details of, and we just hope to see you there. So
Yep.
until next time, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to serve you, and God bless you. I love you. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Oh.